Hello, everyone, and welcome to Never a Foul. Another day, another preview for you, another big game. Of course, it is Liverpool versus Spurs, battle for the top four. Is it still going? We're going to know from these guys. Fantastic panel with us here. Henry, of course, Mons, and Tobes. Callum will be late, but he's going to be here. He's going to be here. He's not the latest one. Mons is always the latest one, but not today. Not today. How's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing?
Yeah, all right.
3 straight wins. I'm not too bad.
Spurs are happy with the draw yesterday or something?
This has been our season, isn't it? 2 halves. The first half, shambolic, and then all of a sudden we show a bit of fight. It's been us since the beginning of the season. Doesn't matter which manager it is. Doesn't matter if it's Conte, Stellini, or Mason. It's just our season, to be honest.
You're still in the top 4 contention, aren't you?
Nah.
100%.
It's done, man. It's done. But I think every Tottenham fan, and Toby's probably agreeing this, we're just waiting for this season to end. We just want to regroup, get to the summer. I mean, we've still got to play, obviously, this lot on Sunday. I don't think we've won there in 10 years. Our record there never goes right whenever we play Liverpool. There's always something in that game. I think a few years ago when Bobby Firmino scored the header and Dyer's not marking anyone, the Champions League with a penalty went against us. Something's against Liverpool always goes against us. Like last year, Diaz's deflected shot. It's just this.
Not the Harry Kane, not the Harry Kane red card. That should have been a red. Not that one.
All right, yeah, you could argue that, but one thing in like 7 or 8 fixtures, the last 7 or 8 games to play Liverpool, it never goes for us. I think right now Liverpool got a higher chance of finishing top 4. They've got a game in hand on us. They're playing better football. They're in better form. We're just waiting to find out who the manager's going to be, regroup, and then we've got so many issues we've got to get through. You know, Harry Kane today, Romano's talking about the United fans are singing, "We'll see you in June," and you know, there's just so many problems at this football club at the moment. But just take each game as it comes, I guess. That's all we can do, really.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, hit that like button for us if you just joined. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So please do it. I need the likes to go up as quickly as possible. Mons, is Klopp back? Is Klopp back and Liverpool are back, right? This is what I'm hearing.
You're doing it again. You're doing it.
It's not me, bro. You're telling it's me. It's not me. Look at Twitter. Look at Talk Sports. Look at everybody saying, "Oh my God." Talk Sports is like Liverpool are back. They're winning games.
Telling me about Talk Sport, the most reactionary. Listen, I won't even go into that. I'll do that.
That's what I'm saying. They're reactionary, right? They're reactionary.
Yeah, but no. How can we be back? How? We're sitting currently 7 points and a game extra played to even catch Man United, who are 4th. Let's be real. Let's be realistic. It's Genk away, Spartak Moscow, and them, man. That's what we're going to be doing. It's them long, cold, Red Star Belgrade, all of that. They might even be in the champs. I don't even know. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're coming top 4. I think right now it's just about finishing the season as strong as possible and going into next season feeling more rejuvenated. Injuries, hopefully it's a lot less of those, and we can just restock on the midfield. I think we're kind of in a similar space with Tottenham where you don't know what team you're going to get. It's Jekyll and Hyde set, and this is the first time we've won 3 games in a row for a long, long time. Either you get the team that turns up against Nottingham Forest, or you get the team that turns up against Man United at home. You generally don't know. I think the only advantage that we have is that we're at Anfield, and it's not going to be as black and white as people think. Yes, Spurs had a mirror at Newcastle, but against United, I think that was unlucky not to get the win. If Son had his shooting boots on at any point in the season, actually, then that game could have gone another way. So I wouldn't say Liverpool are back, but we're playing better football, and try and Trent in this 6th row. It's not working too bad at the moment, but we have to see, man. No team's actually pressed us high for us to give Trent an issue. So it's still a hybrid thing in that instance as well. So yeah, man, we're not back, if that's what you think.
Yeah, let me start with the game yesterday. Tobes, How did you see the game yesterday? Did you want them to go for it at the last 10 minutes after the equalizer? Because everybody thought that they were there for the taking. Man United were vulnerable at that time. You were creating chances. Why did you think the players like went back and tried to defend that two drawn? Why do you think that happened?
I think it was manager. I think it was a manager instruction, to be honest. And I don't know why we did that. Listen, I'm not I'm not really happy that we've got to the point where we have Ryan Mason in the hot seat. But credit to him, I think he did relatively well yesterday to actually get us to look a lot more threatening than we have done in a lot of games this season. But I didn't understand that decision. He brought on Tanganga at 2-2, and it just killed momentum, because I felt like Tanganga comes on, we revert back to a back five, and it just felt like the instruction was to sort of sit back, soak up, and close up shop and be happy with the 2-2 draw, which didn't really make sense to me, because I felt like with Danjuma on the pitch, had we had kept Son for probably maybe 5-6 more minutes longer, with Kane on the pitch, with Kulusevski on the pitch, I feel like we definitely could have scored another goal against United. I personally thought they were there. They were definitely there for the taking. And we just, for some reason, just said, we'll just pack up and accept a point. So wasn't really happy about that. Like Henry said, I don't think we are going to get top four. I do not believe we're going to get top four. Me personally, I've felt that since January that Spurs just aren't a serious enough side to get top four. So my opinion's been consistent for the last couple of months, and it's even intensified now. There's no chance Spurs are going to get top four. And even if we wanted to get top four, that's the type of game you got to be taking 3 points out of. So to see us find our way back into the game 2-2 and then not go for the win was frustrating.
A question for everybody: would you rather get no Europe if you're not getting Champions League, or you get like a Europa League or a Champions? That's the question for both Liverpool lot and the Spurs people. Henry, I'm gonna start with Henry.
Would you rather get what? Sorry.
Would you rather get no Europe at all if you don't get Champions League, or get like a Conference League or a Europa League?
To be honest, I think
just
maybe a year. I would, if we could get Europa League, I wouldn't be a dreadful season. But I don't see the downside of getting no Europe, because it would give the manager more time on the training ground to actually create some sort of style. Because we seem to, when in moments in games we play good football, like Tobe said. We had a chances in the second half where we could have won that game, right? The problem is we when we're in Europe, we don't necessarily buy the players of quality we need to compete in Europe, right? So you look at the two biggest windows we've had, they've both been while we're in the Champions League. If we're in the Europa League, yeah, you can still attract players, but I don't see Levy going and buying huge amounts of players if we don't see in Europe. So it's a double-edged sword. We finish in Europe, we can still buy players, but then long term, does the manager get enough time on the training ground? Say, for instance, we bring in Nagelsmann. If we finished 8th or 9th and we said, let's focus on an FA Cup and focus on actually getting a style, I'd happily miss out on European football if it meant 1 year down the line, we've got a style, we're actually trying to do something and we've got a plan. Because we don't have a plan. We're buying players that are being recommended to us by previous clubs. Okay, Kulusevski and Bentancur have worked out. But you look at the rest of Paratici signing, some of them, you huge question marks over. And that's why we've been in Europe. Finish outside and actually regroup. Bring a director of football in. There's a lot of rumours about Ralph Ragnick. I wouldn't be too disappointed at that. I know he's worked, understands the way Nagelsmann works. Finish 8th. And then put a plan together. We need the players, the manager, the director of football, and the coach all singing from the same hymn sheet. We're trying to buy defensive players for an attacking manager. It makes no sense. We're just going round in circles. That's just the way I see it.
Mons, would you Europa League for you? The last time you played Europa League was the first season of Jurgen Klopp. Is that correct?
Yes. We got to the final, lost to Sevilla. Yeah.
So would you want to go to Europa League again? Maybe a chance to win it, to regroup, because it's a European trophy as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've won everything there is to win. But if you want to count the Europa League, then it's not quite everything. So, maybe it's 4D chess from Klopp. maybe we wanted to win the Europa League as well. Maybe we really wanted to win the lot. I don't know. Nah. But I'm playing. I think if we do compete in the Europa League, I think with our European heritage and those Anfield nights, those midweek Anfield nights in the Europa League, I think generally we could probably challenge. If not, we should be the favourites to win the Europa League. I don't think there should be anyone challenging unless there's a real, Juventus probably might have been an issue, but they've got their points back, so they're probably going to be playing Champions League football. I don't really see anyone else of a massive stature to really pose us any sort of threat in the Europa League. So by right, we should be winning it. My issue would be maybe I probably would have preferred to have no European football and go for the 2 domestic cups and see how we can do in the league. But different strokes for different folks. I feel like we're probably going to try our best to go for that tiny percentage of actually possibly finishing top 4, but I don't see it happening. I think it's if there was 40 games in the season, then maybe, but there's only 38. I believe we only have 6 games to play. I believe we win at least 5 out of those 6 games. But yeah, man, I'm annoyed at the whole Europa League football thing, because it means that next year we have to almost win it and finish top 4, which it looks like that could be a little bit problematic with the squad and the injuries, especially the ones we've seen this season. But I don't know, man. I feel like it's all right. I feel like I'm bored of Champions League anyway. I didn't like it anyway. Won it enough.
To going into the manager situation, I want to go into the manager situation and get to Topes. Topes, the rumors and the talk about Ryan Mason taking over or Nagelsmann being interested in the job. What's your preference for going to next season? Would you rather get someone like Nagelsmann or get someone like? Of course, I know that you're not going to want Ryan Mason at the club, but Luis Enrique, Nagelsmann, would you rather get one of these guys with the big names, or would you rather get someone to build with the club, like when you got Pochettino from Southampton?
I'm easy, to be honest. As long as they're a right fit for the club. I think Nagelsmann ticks all the boxes for me. I feel like he's someone who obviously is a big name in world football, having just recently managed Bayern Munich, but he also has all the principles and ideals that we want in a project manager. Like, he's got ample experience working with young players. He is a type of manager who isn't afraid to get his hands dirty and work with players that aren't particularly at the base level of quality that he prefers. He's someone who you can actually build a project around. We saw it at Hoffenheim and we saw it at Leipzig. 2 seasons, I think he was there. He had them challenging for a league title in both seasons. Qualified for the Champions League with Hoffenheim as well. So this is a man who also is experienced at punching above his weight. And I think when you're working under an owner like Daniel Levy, who's not fit for purpose, and even though we're spending more money, we're not going to be spending as much as the teams above us. You need a manager who's able to sort of basically mix it with the big boys without having to spend as much as the big boys are spending. So, and I feel someone like Nagelsmann absolutely ticks that box. Luis Enrique, I think he is a really good coach, but I don't think he fits Tottenham as well as Nagelsmann. I just don't. I feel like he's a big name, but I don't see him as a project manager. I don't. I feel like from my research, when I've seen him drop down to a club like Tottenham, where I use his stint at Roma when he took his first management job, that ended horribly, and that's his first job. So I can sort of give him the credit there. Obviously, he went to Barcelona. That's 3 jobs in and won everything there was to win at Barcelona. But he had a specific set of players, and I feel like at Spurs, he won't have a specific set of players. At Spain, he had a specific set of players. He likes to play a certain way, and I feel like his last 2 management roles have had players that can automatically play the way he wants to play. He won't have that at Spurs, and I feel like even though Tottenham need a manager who can change things radically, which he would do, I believe that the stage we're in now, to the stage that we need to get to, he may not be able to do a job as well as someone like a Nagelsmann and Amorim and so on and so forth. So that's my reasoning for not wanting someone like Luis Enrique. But if the choice was Luis Enrique over Ryan Mason, for instance, I'm taking him every day of the week, because Ryan Mason, I don't understand why he's why his name is even in consideration for the permanent gig for some Spurs fans. I don't understand it. Like, I get that he loves the club. I get it. But this is a guy who literally has no experience. This is not work experience. This is a football club. Like, we need to get serious here. We absolutely need to get serious, right? Props to him for coming in and taking in the job on such short notice. It's not an easy job. This is the second time he's having to do it on an interim basis, and he's having to take over under horrendous circumstances. So credit to him. He speaks well. I feel like he's got a good mentality, but none of this matters in comparison to being a good manager if you don't have the experience. All of this is rendered null and void if you don't have the experience or know-how of what it is you're doing. And I don't believe he has that because he hasn't had the experience. He hasn't. He's been at Spurs his entire coaching career, right? He managed the under-18s, and 100%. His longest stint he's had in terms of experience with and exposure to first-team football is being part of Conte's coaching staff. People want to talk about his interim spell after Jose. He managed the team for 7 games. And in that 7-game stint, who did we play? We played Burnley at home, who went down. We played a tired Wolves who were basically down and out under Nuno. Had already checked out for the season. Who else? Sheffield United, another team that got relegated. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, in his stint, there was probably only one game where I could actually say, you know what, fair play. And that was probably Leicester away. And even then, Leicester were on holiday. So
is that where Bale scored the brace?
Another win. I don't want to discredit.
What, is it Brendan Rodgers on the paper?
No. When we beat Leicester, isn't that where Gareth Bale scored like 2 goals in the second half?
Yeah, he came on and scored a brace. Yeah, so like, listen, as I said, props to Ryan Mason for being so brave, and I sort of admire his confidence. And his self-belief. But it can only be a club like Spurs where Ryan Mason has the audacity and the goal to actually believe that he can be considered for the job, and it's because we've allowed him to foster that mindset. We've kept him around in these positions despite having minimal experience to do the job required. So, as I said, props to Ryan Mason. I would love for him to do a great job between now and the end of the season. If you really want to be a manager, props to you, but you need to learn your trade. And right now, Spurs isn't the club for you. Go get experience. Go learn what it is to be a manager. And then when you've got some proper experience under your belt, then come back. I've seen Spurs fans who are turning their nose at someone like Vincent Kompany, rightly so, as good as he's done at Burnley. Why? Because he hasn't had the experience that he needs in the top flight in England. He hasn't. But yeah, I'm hearing Ryan. Nah, man. Nah.
What about Brendan Rodgers? If you end up with Brendan Rodgers, how would that make you feel, Henry?
I mean, Brendan Rodgers is a good manager. For me, I'm not really a fan, to be honest. I know he won an FA Cup at Leicester. He had quite a successful reign at Celtic. I think he did the treble, he did the Scottish Cup and the league and the other cup. He's a good manager, but I just don't feel that this project is right for him. I think Rodgers should have maybe a year out, and then when a team comes around, maybe like mid-table to lower table, I think that would probably suit him better. People don't realise the level of pressure that the board and Levy put on to deliver with not a huge amount of resources. I know we have spent money. We've spent something like 500 million in the last 7 or 8 years, but it's what we spend the money on. And I don't feel that Rodgers would be the strongest manager to come in to Tottenham. I think I'd rather go to someone like, my first choice would probably be Julian Nagelsmann. Did well at Hoffenheim, did well at, I think he took over Hoffenheim when they were like 17th or 16th in the Bundesliga and got them up to 8th or 9th. He got Leipzig. He actually knocked us out of the Champions League with Leipzig as well. You know, it's no coincidence since he's left Bayern Munich, he won 8 out of 8 Champions League games. Tuchel's now struggling. He beat PSG home and away. But I just think that's the manager we should go for, and we've just got to sell that to Nagelsmann. I feel Rodgers would take the job. Obviously, it's a step up from what he was doing at Leicester. And yes, you could say he did win an FA Cup, which is more than we've done in recent times. But does Rodgers fit Tottenham? In my opinion, no, I don't think he does.
No, I'm not sure, but I don't like Brendan Rodgers. I never liked him at Liverpool. I never liked his style of football. I think he's ups and downs. That's just my. I don't think he's a top coach, and he will never be a top. He would never be the caliber of Nagelsmann's and the Klopps, and I think he would never be one of these guys. Mons, do you think this is about Spurs though? I want to stay at Spurs for like the next 5-10 minutes. Do you think this is the end of cycle for Spurs? If they get the next manager wrong, where do you think they go from here? Because you have had this before Jurgen Klopp, like the end of cycle of Brendan Rodgers, and then Jurgen Klopp coming into the picture, start a new cycle. So how do you see this panning out?
I don't think there's ever really been a cycle since Pochettino. Would you say, Tubbs? No,
I don't know where it ends, to be honest. Because
I don't really think there's necessarily.
Go on.
I think since Pochettino, there hasn't really been, well, since he's left, well, he was sacked. I don't believe there's been a real identity to Spurs. I think it was kind of just a lot of stopgap, win now, type of football type. I feel like Conte tried, but look, for me, Conte and Spurs, it was just never really going to work, especially for the long term. If they did what they did, if the hierarchy did what they did with Mourinho, then the same thing was probably going to happen to Conte, even if he was a little bit more successful. I think he was backed a little bit better, but again, I don't really feel like there was much identity there. I think the best thing is to go and get a manager who's going to build over time and just stick with it, even if you have to go through a couple of years of hardship. Personally, I don't think going back to Pochettino, even though he's been heavily linked with Chelsea, I don't think going back to Poch is probably the answer. There's so many different ways you can look at it, but you just need a solid identity of football and kind of just to stick with it. I think even selling Harry Kane might be the way forward, and to just to strengthen the team all around, because the team is top heavy and so reliant on Son and Kane's goals, especially over the last 2-3 years, that the second that Son has dropped off, you now are no longer outscoring teams. And as much as I say that Tottenham haven't had an identity and there's not really been a cycle since Poch has left, they've still been comfortably in the Champions League. And it must be increasingly frustrating to know that the gap that you guys are sitting at now away from top 4 easily could have been dealt with. The draw at Everton.
The problem is, the issues going forward isn't the issue. We've got Son, we've got Kane, we've got Kulu. Richarlison will eventually score goals. Danjuma. The issue isn't the firepower. The issue is the other end. When you've got absolute bums like Eric Dyer, like there's rumours we're going to give him a 3-year contract.
But
let's be real. Everton have got better centre backs than Dyer. Tarkowski and Connor Cody are both better than this guy.
But that's what I mean in terms of identity of football. There's no, for me, like, even though you've got
it's good not even identity, Monty. It's stupid decisions. It's stupid decisions every year.
Amongst all of this, you guys should have got top 4 this season. I know it sounds weird. It sounds weird, but the losses, the results. As I said, if you look at the Bournemouth game, you look at the Everton game, and you look at Southampton, that's 8 points. Go add 8 points to what you guys are on right now. You shouldn't have lost those games, even with Eric Dyer defending. You shouldn't have lost those games. I generally think that you have enough goals going forward, but I think Son is probably one of the reasons why you haven't finished top 4 as well this season, because he was massive as well as complementing Kane. I think now it's probably time to get rid of Kane and just start a whole new brand and direction of football and just go from there and strengthen the team.
If we get rid of Kane though, once, do you honestly trust Daniel Levy with the recent recruitment?
You have to get the recruitment right.
Yeah, that's the problem though, because we don't have a plan. Because we don't have. Yeah. You look at Napoli, right? This is the example I give all the time. They lost Insigne, Dries Mertens, Koulibaly, and Fabian Ruiz, right? They went out and bought Osimhen. They went out and bought, I call him Cravadonna because I butcher his name. They went out and bought Anguissa, and they went and bought Kim Min-jae. That is decent scouting.
Osimhen was there already.
All right, so they bought those 3
was there already. Anguissa was there already, I believe. Anguissa was already there.
They bought a left back. They bought the left back, the Uruguayan left back.
They bought Kvaratskhelia.
And they bought Kim Min-jae.
So they bought Kvaratskhelia.
Is Lobotka? How long has he been there?
No, Lobotka has been there since last year. So
Lobotka was there last season.
But still, like they've replaced
there
some of
last
their
year.
big players.
They
I
did
feel like-
replace them, and they have a style. I get what Henry's saying. They have a style. They wanted something, and they made it work with the coach that they had. So keep going. Yeah. Go ahead, Henry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. I think your broad point is right, and I think with Spurs, I actually disagree, Monts, when it comes to the Son aspect. I think Son. You're right. Could Spurs have been better with Son firing? Absolutely, but I think what has been the biggest Achilles heel for Spurs is our defense, and it's not just our back line, it's our goalkeeper, it's the midfield, the lack of protection that it gives the team as well. So Spurs are on course to concede like 60 goals. Like that is, I don't even think we conceded 60 goals in the season with that ended with Tim Sherwood. Like this is undoubtedly one of our worst ever performing seasons from a defensive standpoint. So that is obviously the Achilles heel for Spurs. I think we're still at the fourth, even with Son not scoring goals. I think my internet is hickey. Even with Son not scoring goals, we still have the fourth most goals scored in the league. Obviously, that's a lot of that is reliant on Harry Kane. But the defense in the midfield. It needs work. It needs work. And I don't just mean defenders who can defend. I mean players who are actually good, like good caliber players that are good in possession, good out of possession. In midfield, we need someone who can pass.
I'm saying with that defensive line and the defensive issues, you guys have been playing five at the back. You've tried four at the back. You've gone for a more defensive standpoint in Højbjerg and Stick. These guys, we've established these guys aren't good enough. I believe Basuma's good enough, but he needs the right manager. But if you don't get rid of Kane, do you trust Levy to go in and get and refresh that defense the way it needs, and the defensive side of the midfield the way it needs to happen without the selling of Kane?
That's the problem.
He's delayed.
I'm open to selling.
Talks his internet is delayed a little bit.
That's the problem. 1 sec, I'm coming back.
Yeah, jumping in.
I think.
Yeah, Henry, what are you saying? Because
you look at the recent buys we've made, right? We've bought some good Premier League proven players, right? Bissouma, Richarlison, players out. We've gone over to Italy. We've brought Kulusevski, Bentancur, Romero. The issue is, for once, right? I saw an article the other day that Levy just gives an amount to the director of football and says, "This is what we're prepared to spend. You need to go and spend it," right? Paratici's coming up. Paratici's one of his number one targets was Adama Traore. Now, this guy, literally, I don't even know what he does besides pace. He's just a pace merchant, right? We're looking at players like that. Like his number one target was Luis Enrique. We're not getting the players he actually wants. The issue is we've got a director of football that doesn't actually know what a good player is, to be honest, unless he's actually seen them play in real person. There's no scouting network. Look at you guys, right? You guys, look at Van Dijk. Went from Celtic, Southampton. You saw him. He was like, bang. What do you want? Paid. Alisson, paid. Robertson, paid. Fabinho.
Off the back of Coutinho, though. Had to sell Coutinho.
But then look at us. We sold Gareth Bale and bought through Paulinho, Soldado, Nasser Chadli, Eric Lamela. None of those players are good.
But that's director of football, because remember, at the same time you sold Gareth Bale, we sold Luis Suarez, and we ended up getting the likes of Emre Can, Adam Lallana, Dejan Lovren, and these guys who weren't good enough for the long term for Liverpool. And then new director of football comes in, we sell Coutinho, and we see it done properly. Do you know what I'm saying? So we were remember during that time when you saw Bale and we saw Suarez, we're in a similar position.
Yeah, we beat you 4-1 at Wembley, and if you look at the trajectories of the teams, you've gone like this, and we've just gone sideways.
Yeah. So, as I said, that's what I think is that, again, it's that director of football. Do you know what I'm saying? Edwards came in, and when we actually sold another big name player in Coutinho, things were done so much differently, and the recruitment was correct. Now, it's about now, do you trust that director of football in Paratici? I don't know if I'm saying his name right. For him to go and do it the right way, if you either sell Kane or work with the money you've got. Because I believe that the way you guys have been working, we probably won't even look at the defense too much. Probably going to go, probably need to get another attacker. Danjuma probably goes back to Villarreal, I believe that.
Yeah, that's the problem, though. Look at the January window, right? Our number one transfer target was Pedro Porro. right? Because the system we was playing was a wing back, and we wanted someone that could actually contribute in both ends. Now, I think his defensive side of his game, I think it needs a bit of work. Going forward, he's got some good attributes, right? We got our number one target, whether it took us 31 days. But that was the time where as soon as the January window finishes, on the 31st of Jan, you identify who you want in the summer. You start looking at your targets. Now, we need 2-3 centre-backs. The only good defender, and I've been very critical of him, the only good defender we've actually got is Romero, right? And I think there is a player in there. I just think we need to straighten out some of the things of him being rash. The other defenders, Longley was just a stopgap, right? Eric Dyer, terrible. Davinson Sanchez, right? As soon as that window finishes, we should identify it. So when it comes to the window opening, we can go and get our targets early. The earlier we get.
What happened with Bastoni? And there was another
that's
one.
our number one target. Bastoni rejected us.
He didn't want to leave.
What should have happened? You should have got Bastoni and Skriniar. That's what should have happened.
Yeah, but Bastoni didn't want to leave.
Bastoni didn't want to leave.
Skriniar's going to PSG.
Skriniar don't want to sign for Spurs. The problem is that Spurs, they had their plan. They had a plan A, and they didn't have a fallback plan in defense. And I felt like there was like a huge drop off in quality. We went from being linked to Bastoni and Gvardiol, who were top targets, to signing Longley. Like the only commonality in all these three players is they're all come through the ball at their feet, but their actual jobs defensively, it's night and day. Like one is significantly worse than the other. I just think with Spurs, irrespective of who the DOF is, hopefully it's a good DOF. I heard that we were linked with Munchie, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Would you take Raymond home?
Of course I would. If he came with Nagelsmann.
As like a duo with Nagelsmann.
Absolutely, because I feel like he would know Julian Nagelsmann's style, right? And then Nagelsmann and Ragnick not only would be able to dictate the start that the first team play, but dictate the start that the club play. Because I think if you look at our spending trajectory over the last 5 years, we've actually spent quite a lot of money. I think we're like top 5, top 6 spenders in the Premier League over the last 4 or 5 years, but our spending has been wayward. I think our actual buys have been in the last 2 years. I would actually say we've actually improved in our buys.
Yeah.
Like we've actually bought some good players. Obviously, some who have hit the ground running, some who have been not so great, some who have been appalling, but they still have potential upside. I'm talking about like Basuma, even Richarlison. I think he's been. I rate Richie, but I think he's been dog shit this season, and yet I still believe that there's a player that Spurs can utilize there. Do you get what I'm saying? We've got Jed Spence on there, you've got Destiny coming in. There are some good players that we've signed. I just feel like once the next manager comes in, we need to go through a lot of work to strip out the players who don't fit the style that the club want to move towards. And then we need to start buying players that fit the way we want to play. If we want to be a front-footed, expansive team in the next 5, 6, 7 years, then only buy players that can play that brand of football. Because right now we've got a mismatch. We've got wing backs who are trying to play with right backs. We've got right backs who are trying to play wing backs. We've got midfielders who can't play in a 2, playing in a 2. We've got defenders who can only play in a 3, right? We've got wingers that can only play on the left-hand side. We've got attackers that can't play on the right-hand side. I feel like.
So just quickly, sorry to cut you off. What's your thoughts on Hojbjerg? Because yesterday I've lost my mind with this guy. I want him to go in the summer. I was getting pelters left, right, and centre across Twitter saying, "Oh, but he's the Viking," but I just don't understand what he does.
Nah, I used to listen. I was with the Hojbjerg Viking prop, man. I used to like Hojbjerg, and I still like him as a personality. I feel like his personality, the way he speaks, right? He's someone you want in the dressing room, but that isn't enough for me. Like you have to actually be good. And this guy is not good. He's not a good enough player. He's too volatile especially when he's not got Benton Cole holding his hand. He's just way too volatile. Off the ball, he's a stripper. He's always chasing lost causes. He leaves big spaces. He always gets sold. On the ball, he's too slow. He doesn't take enough risk with his passing. Side to side always. His passing is erratic. It's just it's just not good enough. And I get it. He's got his assists and goals. He's come up big for Spurs a couple of times this season, but game to game, the consistency is just too off, man. And he needs to go, man. He needs to go. He needs to
Can
go.
we switch gears a little bit to Liverpool? Once, just we were talking about Klopp out and all this talk. Not you,
Yeah.
but a lot of people.
Mhm.
Is that still you want to give him a chance because there is nobody available, or you
Yeah,
want
I said-
nobody better
Mhm.
available, or you think you're gonna give him a chance because he deserves another chance?
No,
next
he
year?
definitely deserves a chance. It's just with Liverpool, do Liverpool have the time for a chance? Because as I said, if people want to wait as long as they're projected, if we want to wait as long as people want to give him time, then the span of the team will be gone by then. Next thing you know, we're in a serious rebuild. People say we're in a rebuild now. We should not be in a rebuild. We competed for the quad last year. What do you mean rebuild? What are you talking about? Do you know what I'm saying? It's an excuse. It's silly. At the end of the day, I stuck to my guns. I said, listen, if Klopp is where Chelsea is, come the end of the season, I want him gone. Don't care what he's done. It's not Klopp FC, it's Liverpool FC. I don't care what he's done. It's just that, and if he's able to claw his way back to a decent finish.
Hang on. Did you say at the end of the season you want Klopp gone?
No, I said if we finished where Chelsea was, I don't know, 12th, 13th, 14th at the end of the season, I said I would have been opting for Klopp out, gone by the end
So
of
if
the
you
season.
was to
That's
finish,
not-
say, Conference League,
That's mad to me.
I think that's crazy. Like, you got to understand, you ain't won a league title in 30 years, and this guy's brought you that. You've won everything.
Yeah,
like you said.
100%. But I just have to repeat it, bro. Like this
But
isn't.
you can't
Klopp
throw that
FC.
all off in one season.
No, 100%. I think Klopp deserves another chance. But if he took the team that low in third to at least 13th, 14th place, and we're going into next season and it's looking poor, dying, all that stuff, then I'm personally, I'll be looking for a new manager and a new identity of football. And it seems
So
to be
who
expired.
would you bring in to replace Klopp?
I'm not Klopp out.
No, I'm saying if Klopp was to go tomorrow, who would be
Yeah.
your first choice?
Pep.
Hypothetically.
Probably.
The only one. I'm serious. The only one is Pep.
Probably my preference, Luis Enrique. My preference. But I would even have looked at Pochettino, maybe those two managers. But probably more Enrique. I just think that now that obviously we've got some of our players back from injury, we're starting to find some form. We're looking at a decently respectable finish, even though it's still a massive underachievement this season. I do feel like Klopp has earned his way back into my good books. He still had a terrible season, management-wise, in-game tactics, formation-wise, everything tactically to do with the game for me. He's been really poor this season. He's been outclassed by a plethora of managers who have not even half of experience, players that aren't even as good as the players that he has at his disposal. Some of the decisions, especially during the transfer window, how dare you look at midfield and you opt for two attacking players in the last two windows, and we haven't bought a single midfielder within the last 8 transfer windows, and you go and buy a striker for 64 million, raising to 80 million, and you go and buy a 50 million player in January. It's unforgivable. That is almost borderline unforgivable. And when people say they don't want to blame Klopp, they're just blind. You are blind.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
I agree with that.
are to blame. FSG are to blame. They are. But this year, Klopp was to blame for those purchases. And for me, and if we don't get Bellingham, that's another thing that we need to flag up as well. Because at the end of the day, we've been saving, trying to get the money, and now you're telling us that we can't afford someone who we know is going to be crazy expensive anyway. It doesn't take a genius to know Jude Bellingham's going to be expensive. Do you know what I'm saying? I think we need to really seriously revamp this midfield. I generally think Klopp looked at that midfield and thought it was going to be good enough, realized it wasn't good enough, and then now we are where we are. Does he deserve a chance on turning things around? 100%. Especially with a stronger finish form-wise this season and getting a good pre-season in. But it doesn't mean he's not out. He's not, to be criticized for what's happened. I think I want to see that him change things and change his style and adapt to what's going on in football these days, because what he's doing now, I wouldn't say it's outdated, but he doesn't have the players in midfield to perfect what he wants to do to the maximum output, And if he knows this, which he should know this, we revamp that midfield this season, which should have been done last season and should have been done in January. It's just taken too long to notice that. So that's my thing when it comes to Jurgen Klopp.
But here's the difference. To be honest, I'm looking at Man City and I'm thinking they were in a change of skin this year, a new way of playing. Jack Grealish now coming into the picture. But Pep still got him in all the competition, challenging. Pep just got him to get. They might win the title now, and maybe it's the difference between Haaland and Nunes. However,
No, it's not.
he,
It's not Harlan Nunes, but go on.
he
Carry on.
changed. He changed the way they play to accommodate for the new striker.
He adapted the style to the players
Thank
at
you.
his disposal. And Jurgen
Yes.
Klopp, again, when you play the same way for 5 years, and then you now ask those players who have played the same way for 5 years to accommodate for a number 9 instead of a false 9, and for the wingers to be this whole change, there's obviously going to be some form of transition, and there's going to be a drop off. Now, did we know the drop off was going to be this colossal? Of course not. But that is a result of not adapting your style when needing to be adapted to. We changed to the 4-2-3-1 briefly in the 18-19 season to be more defensively sound, and it worked at times. But apart from that, it is plan A, and plan B is to improve plan A, and plan C is to refine plan A. There's no adaptation period. There's no, do you know what I'm saying? The players that Pepper's got at his disposal are able to adapt to different formations and styles, and he is a manager who can coach different formations and styles. And that is why he's better than Jurgen Klopp. Doesn't mean Jurgen Klopp's a bad manager. It just means Pep's a better manager. It's just that simple.
I still my mind just can't get over that you were challenging in every single game until the last game last season to this year, and you're telling me that because the players got older 1 year, now they look like this. I think it's a managerial issue, something in the background, not only managerial in terms of tactics, something in the club, the coaching staff, fitness. Say whatever you want to say. There is something in the background that happened for all these players to drop the form like this. And don't tell me it's Mane leaving, like a lot of people want to say.
It's not, because he's been crap. He's been crap as well. He's been crap. And if anything, if you look, it's not just the Liverpool players who have fallen off. Even the Liverpool players that have left have fallen off. What's Origi done? You heard Origi do anything? Heard Mane do anything? It's anyone coming from Liverpool, still in Liverpool. There's been a regression from everyone. You could say Salah's maintained statistically, but Salah's not had a good season. He's not. Let's be honest. He hasn't. Virgil's drop-off's been scary. Fabinho is 49 years of age. His passport is wrong, clearly. Do you know what I'm saying? So we now have to look at the midfield and try and get that engine going again. And hopefully we can provide that defense for that shield for the defense, and we can go again. Hopefully, I guess. Hopefully.
But if you don't get Bellingham, do you think getting 2 good midfielders, just good, they're not superstars, would solve your problems?
I think it would be a better solution than just getting Bellingham and maybe someone who's not that good. I think you have to balance it out. Me personally, Bellingham's not even a top target for me. He never has been. It's been a Barella. I've really liked the likes. Mo, how many times have I told you about how much I want Barella? I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but he was cost a little bit less than Bellingham.
But if we was to get, I don't know, a Paulinho,
McAllister, Paulinho, Matthias Nunes, is that? But that's what I mean, Mons. This is the standards of Liverpool. Like the fans are saying, they think it's still 2017 again when you're going to get Salah from Roma and he would score 50 goals. They think you're going to get Mane from Southampton and he's going to be that player. I don't think this time is going to be the same. People think Matthias Nunes is going to.
But why do they have to get superstars?
We've never bought superstars. It's never been our style.
Yeah, they never did.
That's what I'm saying. You don't need to buy superstars. They don't need.
So you think, Topes, that if they get the likes of these good players but not superstars, Jurgen Klopp still can take these guys to the levels that he took Salah, Mane, Van Dijk, and
of course he can. Of course he can.
He's already done it once.
He's been doing it. He's been doing it for years. He did it at Dortmund and he's done it at Liverpool. Absolutely, he can. And some of these players we're mentioning, the key is to buy players who are good now and young, with a hope that they have like a big potential. They have like an upward. They have like an upward trajectory, right? So if they were to buy someone like McAllister in the last year and a half or so has come on leaps and bounds from the player that we saw maybe 3 years ago at Brighton, because he's been at Brighton for a minute, right? Saicedo's making leaps and bounds as well. I don't really rate Matthias Nunes like that because I feel like as a midfielder, sometimes his passing is very higgy, but he's got stuff you can work with. He's a powerful runner, and in defensive situations, he's good. So the trick isn't even to buy superstars, just buy good players with potential, buy good players with an upward trajectory. And then in 2-3 years' time, you're talking about a quality player. Look at Arsenal with Odegaard. Odegaard was a good player when Arsenal signed him on the cheap. Now he's one of the best players in his position, probably in world football. Do you get what I'm saying? It can go both ways.
Yeah, 100%. I want to. So for this, do you guys think that there's time in the Premier League? The time that Jurgen Klopp built, everybody was down. You remember that was a Leicester and then Chelsea coming into the picture, then Pep Guardiola just. Do you think they will have time now? Like teams will have, like the likes of Man United, if they get bought by the Qatari people, they'll have a lot of money. Arsenal now are here. They might get new players next year. We see Newcastle. Do you think there is time, like the 16, 17, when Jurgen Klopp started to build his thing? Do you think there is time for him? Exactly. That's the problem.
That was my issue with that's my issue with the I call it naive approach to last year's transfer window and to January transfer window. We know that our best players are now 29 and over. Before Fabinho dropped off, of course, he's 28 he's 29. Salah's 30 going 31. Salah might even be 31. I'll double check. Virgil van Dijk is 31 going 32. Alisson is going 30. Our best players are
Robertson's like 28, 29 as well, isn't he, Robertson?
Yeah. Robertson's I think 28. I think Robertson's 28. But if you look at Thiago as well. Thiago is 31 years of age. So if you want to talk about the 2-3 years you want to rebuild or whatever you want to do, these guys are then going to be 33. Are they? And you got even asked, are they still going to be here at 33? This is what I mean about time. This last year's window was imperative. It was so necessary to get it right while these players are at their best. Because once they go, or their legs go, or they leave, then you're looking at a proper rebuild. We've wasted a year where these guys are in their prime years. And it's really cost us. Man City weren't the best. This isn't one of the best Man City sides you've seen. Neither team look like they're going to get to 90 points. And you're telling me we fumbled this year because we didn't want to buy a midfielder to say for who? Jude Bellingham. Let me know. One midfielder in 8 windows. It's criminal.
That's the difference. That's like Spurs, because they haven't tasted success, they can be patient a little bit if they see something in the future. But Liverpool, you have tasted success with Jurgen Klopp. If you get 2-3 years without anything happening for your club, not winning, maybe not making top 4 or something, because other teams are building better around you or they are developing better, I think you're going to have the fans are going to be impatient. I think you're going to have people saying, no, bun this. Let's get a new thing going on. This is not working.
Yeah, but they've got to be patient because they know, all the Liverpool fans know they need a rebuild. You're starting games still with Henderson. James Milner's still coming on.
Do we need a rebuild or do we need 2 midfielders?
I think you need a centre-back as well.
Yeah, we need one. We need one centre-back. We need 3. We probably need a whole new midfield. I think Thiago's still got another year and a half left in him easily at the top level. Probably 2 years left in him at the top level. We've got enough attackers to go around. In my opinion, we shouldn't be getting rid of Firmino, but it is what it is. We've got enough attackers there. I don't think we're that many players off being not back to where we were last season, but back to at least a comfortable top 4 team. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just, again, it's the approach and getting the recruitment right. As Tobe said, we don't need to buy superstars. We need to get the engine going again to protect the defense. And that for me is not a rebuild. If Liverpool need to rebuild after challenging for a quad, everyone at the top needs to go, including Jurgen. If you're going from one extreme to another, that's just ridiculous. Do you know what I'm saying? If it is a slight rebuild, but for me, it's just, I wouldn't even say the word is rebuild. It's making up for the mistakes in the transfer window and the naiveness of not getting what you should have, not seeing the obvious. Personally, I just think Klopp miscalculated. He miscalculated, thought the midfield was there, realized how poor it was, and now we're in the situation we're in.
Callum, welcome. Late but great. We got 5 minutes. How's everything going with you? How are you feeling, man?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Yeah, apologies for the lateness. A few things out of my control, so apologies, but thanks for letting me in regardless.
We're talking about the Liverpool rebuild. Do they have time? Is there time with the teams around them building and getting better? That's just the word now.
I only caught the end of what Mont was saying. I do agree a lot with what Mont is saying. A rebuild is a very big word to use, and it's almost like a buzzword, which I don't think we do need, but we can't be slack like we have for many transfer windows. Like, this is the last transfer window wasn't even just the one. It was the one where after we won the Champions League, we only signed Adrian, Elliott, and Sepp Vandenberg. Then we won the league, and then we signed Jota, Simicast, and Thiago, which was a very good window. But we left ourselves short not signing a centre back. Then the summer after that, we signed a centre back. Don't sign anyone else. And then last summer, we signed 3 project players. And I know everyone will say Nunes can't be a project player because of the price tag. We got fleeced for the value of Nunes. Like, not disrespecting Nunes, I think he will come good, but we got fleeced for the value. He's a project player. Carvalho's a project player, and so is Calvin Ramsey. You can't be doing that when you're at the top. I've never seen Man City win the league and then say, all right, let's go and get 3 project players. They keep the clock rolling, and Man United were brilliant at doing that as well. So I do think we need at least 4 or 5 players, and they've all got to be of a good quality this summer. Or else, yeah, I do see us getting left behind potentially, because Arsenal have improved. But again, the jury's still out on them, whether this is just a one-off season or they can do it consistently. I think Newcastle are going to be an absolute problem now. And the fact that they are so many years ahead of schedule is scary, in my opinion. Spurs, again, Tobes, no disrespect, I don't know what's going on with Spurs. It's mad.
There's no identity. That's the problem. There's like we've been talking about. There's no plan. You look at Newcastle, right? They got bought out, and they said we want to win the league within 10 years. Admittedly, they're miles ahead of schedule, and now they're in the Champions League. They'll start attracting the big boy players. But you've never heard Levy or Enoch come out and say we want to win X, Y, Z. It seems to be that whatever manager we get, as soon as we start slipping away from that top 4, the trigger gets pulled and the manager gets sacked. I don't actually think that Toby's we think a lot alike, but I think a lot of the fans don't want that graft to sit and finish 8th or 9th for a couple of seasons if it means there's an ethos behind it. The same as Chelsea fans. We feel like we're entitled to be competing in the Champions League. I don't think
I don't agree with that personally.
Well, you don't think that we'd be prepared to finish 8th or 9th if it meant in 2 or 3 years' time?
I think we would be prepared for that. I think we would be prepared for that. I don't think Champions League, as you've seen this season, even when we were technically still in 4th spot, how many people were happy with the season? How many people were happy with the season? Nobody was happy with the season because that's
more than a style of football, though, isn't it? Because we were just
no. It's not just a style of football. We got knocked out by Sheffield United. We got knocked out by AC Milan. We got knocked out by Nottingham Forest. Style aside, we were poor in the cup competitions with a supposed winner at the helm. So you saw the outrage when Pochettino got sacked. Like, a lot of fans were willing to let it crash and burn with Pochettino to actually give him the necessary tools and time to actually rebuild the team again, right? So I don't particularly agree. I'm not saying that those fans don't exist, but I don't particularly agree that Spurs fans aren't willing to take maybe another year or 2 of pain if there was a process back behind it. If that was the case, I think you'd get a lot of Spurs fans signed up to it. I think the issue is we've not had that. We've had some really bad ends to the season without the direction. What's the difference? We're probably going to finish what, 7th, maybe 8th this season. Last season we finished 4th. Where did we finish the season before? 7th. Season before that, 6th. We're already doing badly anyway. So I don't believe there is this notion that always Champions League qualification or bust. No, I think that only matters mainly to Daniel Levy. I couldn't give a rat's ass about Champions League qualification when we're this bad. Genuinely. If we get it, great. But it doesn't change the fact that Spurs are fundamentally not a good side. So if there is a plan in place with a manager, the type of players you want, the type of football you want to play, etc., I personally believe that you'll get a hell of a lot of fans who would support that climb, because it's not going to be instant, right? You just look at Callum just named all the teams that are in competition. Newcastle are now in the mix. Arsenal are challenging for the league title. Liverpool, we don't know if they're going to be back next year. Man United, we don't know what they're going to be like next year. Chelsea, we don't know what they're going to be like next year. There's way too much competition. Spurs have no divine right to be in the top 4. We don't. So respectfully, if there is a plan, I think if there is a plan and it was actually well thought out with a manager that everyone could get behind, with the proper structure in place, DOF, the right type of signings we saw, I don't really think you'll see many fans kick up a fuss.
Okay, we need to get predictions for this. Does it really the game matter that much? Like I think
To
this
me,
game,
yeah.
No,
We
not
need
really.
for me, I
I think
want
it
us
matters
to
to Liverpool more than it does us because they've got a better chance of finishing top 4 than we
They're
do.
not finishing top 4.
Oh no,
let's
we're not
just-
finishing.
No,
Oh
but
no,
like,
Yeah,
but there's still a
that's-
chance.
no,
they're
there's not, bro.
finishing top 4,
See,
man.
see,
They're
that's
not-
what I'm talking about.
Arsenal win the league. There's a
No,
chance
but
Arsenal
again,
win the league.
I might be the minority here, but I really want us to get Europa. Like I was
do
one of
I.
like, a few weeks ago. I'd have been like, I don't want Champions. If we don't get Champions League, I don't want any European trophy. But like, I can't have that mindset. Like I want Europa, and I want us to attack Europa properly next season, and then try and go from there.
Playing Red Star Belgrade, Spartak Moscow, Genk,
Yeah,
and them,
man,
man. You
I
saying
need
how you're
to-
there for it?
Yeah, I'm there, man. I'm
That's
there.
it.
There's a couple countries I've never been to in my life, but maybe this
Say
is
no
God
more.
saying.
We'll
Maybe
talk.
this is
We'll
God
talk.
saying.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
What did you say? Score predictions?
Yeah,
3-1
Never get
Liverpool.
any luck at Anfield. My heart says a 2-2 draw. My head says 3-1 Liverpool. But if I was to put money on it, I'd say 3-1 Liverpool. I don't think we will be able to deal with them. There was some nice parts in the second half, and probably we come away from that thinking against Man United, we probably should have got the points there. But this game, this team, whenever we play Liverpool in recent years, there's always something, a segment in the game. And I get it, you got to create your own luck. But I can't see us winning this game, I'll be honest. I think 3-1 Liverpool.
I know you're scoring though. I know you're scoring, but I
Yeah,
don't know how
that's not the
I
problem.
don't know how many you will concede. That's a problem.
We're the third highest score. We're the fourth highest
yeah.
scoring team in the Premier League, behind Liverpool, City, and Arsenal. But then we're the sixth worst defensively.
Yeah. It's astonishing. Even though this season has been labeled a defensive season under Antonio Conte. But you look at the numbers, actually, they don't match because you're the third highest team in creating chances in the league.
Because the players we've got at the back are absolutely awful.
Yeah. Anybody want to predict a score for this game?
3-1 Liverpool.
3-1
3-1.
Liverpool.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a draw again. I think it's going to be 2-2. Topes?
3-2 Liverpool.
Oh my God. Everybody's predicted Liverpool to win. But anyway, guys, these guys, all their channels are in the title, of course. Just click on one of them. It'll take you directly to their channel. Give them a subscription if you haven't already. I'm sure most of our subscribers cross. So, guys, hit that like button if you haven't. It was kind of a depressing show, to be honest. But it's all right. It's all right. So thank you everybody for joining me. Thanks for the guy. Thanks, Henry. Appreciate it, man, for joining. Topes, appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining us. Mons, of course, always a pleasure to have you here with us, as always. And Callum, thanks for the 10 minutes you gave us, but it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate you guys, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon again. Maybe a Prem preview later tonight. So
the best 10 minutes Cal's ever given.
Yeah.
That's not what the missus says. Wee.
Hey, get out.